University of Missouri St. Louis College of Education podcast. Hello and welcome. My name is David Stouffer and I get to be the recruitment coordinator for the UMSL College of Education. Each week on this podcast, we will meet an innovator in the field of education. We will spend some time getting to know them and learning about their work and how it can help you and yours. It is my sincere hope that this podcast will be a source of encouragement and support as you work to continue impacting lives as an educator. My guest today is Martina Meng, manager for the UMSL Veterans Center. Ms. Meng comes to her role after serving nearly 12 years in the National Guard as a soldier and working as the State Tuition Assistance Manager for the Guard's state headquarters. She's earned an associate's degree in education from St. Charles Community College, a bachelor's degree in music from UMSL back in 2019, and recently completed a master's degree in higher education and leadership at Missouri Baptist University. Welcome, Martina.
Welcome. I'm very happy to be here with you today.
This is great. So excited to have you here. And before I looked at your bio, I didn't realize how much of an extensive education background you have, and that's perfect because I would have wanted you on here just for that. But I'm more interested in learning about your work with the Veterans Center here and the important work you do for our veterans. And thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you for your support.
Well, let's start out. I'm very interested in learning a little bit more from you about your background with the National Guard. You served in the National Guard with your mother and stepfather. Mm-hmm. Talk about how that came about and what your experience working for the National Guard was like for you.
Yeah, so when I went to the recruiting office back in 2012, I was a 17-year-old high school senior, no idea what I was going to do with my life, except I knew I wanted to go to college. And I didn't want to pay for it. I knew college was expensive, and my parents were both in the National Guard already, and they told me, well, the National Guard has tuition assistance. Why not join them? And I did not want anything to do with the military. My parents were in the military. I was a rebellious teen. I didn't want to follow in my parents' footsteps. But then I saw the price of college and was like, okay, I'm doing this thing. So when I was talking to my recruiter, both my parents went with me. I had to get a parent permission slip, and he presented these two jobs. He's like, this is all we got right now unless you want to wait. These are the two jobs that we got in the military for you right now. He was probably lying a little bit, as recruiters sometimes do. But he's like, you can either work with your mom or you can go work with your dad. And I was like, well, I'm going to choose the smarter parent. So I started working with my mom. And I followed in her footsteps and went 74 Delta, which is a chemical soldier. So we work with chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear weapons, and kind of work on how to make sure that civilians stay clear from them. And if they do happen to get in contact with these things, how to decontaminate them and save as many lives as possible.
Yes.
So I joined the Guard. I was with my mom. To say that she was overbearing is putting it lighthearted. My mom is a very, very good soldier and a wonderful leader. But because she was a really good leader and she was also my mother, also meant that I was not allowed to fail. She set very high expectations for me. And so as an 18-year-old, in the unit, everyone knew me as the baby of the unit for the longest time. And unfortunately, anything I did went back to Sergeant Mullering. Sergeant Mullering heard about it, and then she talked to me when we would go home and be like, so I heard this happened, or I heard that happened. And I was like, okay, I'll do better tomorrow, or I'll do better next month when we go back. But it definitely made me more skilled as a soldier because I had to not worry just about what was happening on that Saturday and Sunday we went to drill, but also what we were doing Monday through Sunday when I was at home. It's like, oh, you know, my mom's doing this. She's preparing for a PT test. She's preparing for her height weight. She's practicing for all of our decontamination training. She's doing all of this online training we have to do. And so I did everything alongside her, and she was basically my battle buddy for everything.
Right.
Because you can't get in trouble if you're always with your mom. And so anything that the other 18-year-olds
I don't know if that's
were
true,
doing,
but sure, I understand what you're saying.
she could definitely be a little bit of trouble,
Yes.
but she definitely was proper once I got there. Before then, that's her own business. But yeah, anything that the other maybe like younger soldiers were doing, I wasn't really participating in, just because I was like, I'm just gonna hang back with my mom. I want to move forward. I want to move upwards in the National Guard. So sticking with my mom and doing what she's doing, it's working for her. So I'll just follow in her footsteps.
And what was your mom's role again in the Guard?
She started off as what we call an E-Fuzzy, so an E1, and she eventually moved up to an E6, a staff sergeant in the Army National Guard. Today, she works at Dover Air Force Base. She is a first lieutenant in the active duty Air Force. She is hoping to get her captain here soon and start her master's degree in nursing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm super proud of her. She worked as a nurse at the VA for 12 years. She worked in neurology at Mercy Hospital here in St. Louis, and then she was like, I'm going to go active duty. I'm like, you're 49 years old. They're like, that's the cutoff, so it's fine. And she did it.
And she made it. That's great.
Later in our years in the National Guard, my dad switched job codes, so it's very difficult to do sometimes. There's a lot of paperwork, but you can switch jobs if you're not liking what you're doing. And so he was kind of getting frustrated with what he was doing. Not a lot of upward mobility in his role. So he came over to the chemical side, and it was all three of us in the unit together. But my dad was a lot more fun than my mom.
Okay.
So, you know, typical dad, the fun parent. So he was always like in the middle of the groups, always really like happy to tell stories, and he was a really kind guy. So it was really nice to have both my parents. They both looked out for me really well. Anything that happened, everyone just grabbed my parents if I needed them. And no one messed with me too much. So, not a lot of hazing for me because they knew who my parents were, and they knew my mom was not going to have any of that.
Was there an expectation that because your parents are in the Guard, that you somehow would stand out above and beyond the expectations of a new entry into the Guard?
I think for some of them there was, but I also worked really hard myself to make sure that the work that I was doing put me above and beyond anyways. So in my unit, even with my parents, everyone knew me as the education guru. So when it came to federal, when it came to state TA, when it came to GI Bill, everyone, all the sergeants, all of the admin NCOs was like, go to Specialist Meng. She knows about it. I was like, what about you guys? You're full-time. I'm here Saturday and Sunday. And they're like, you got it.
Wow.
So eventually I did become the guru. I used to make PowerPoints, and it wasn't even my job to do so, to talk about the steps on how to apply for these benefits, what you get if you apply for these benefits. And I was like, eventually I'm not going to do this one day, guys. Eventually I'm going to move on to bigger and better things. And bigger and better things meant that I was doing it for the entire state. So eventually I did do it for everybody.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun, but I think my mom held me to a standard, but no one else really expected me to be the carbon copy of my mom.
Right.
But I wanted to be because she was really good at what she did.
So was your pursuit of education with your associates in education and then your eventual degree from UMSL, was that before the Guard or after the Guard?
It kind of simultaneously. So I graduated high school, and the next day I left for basic training.
Okay.
And when I got back, I came back in October with all my training done, and I took a tiny bit of time to think about what I wanted to go to school for. And I went to Lindenwood University at first, and I was like, I want to go for music performance. And they're like, no, you don't. No, you don't. If you do music education, it's all the same classes, but you get a degree that you can utilize anywhere, really, in the state. And
Good
I was
advice.
like, cool, yeah, I'll do that. And so I had a little bit of fun at Lindenwood, some benefit stuff changed. And I was like, Lynn, what's too expensive? I got to go somewhere else. So I went to St. Charles Community College
Sure.
To take some more of my education degrees there. And then once I got my my associates there, I moved over here to UMSL. So I really heard amazing things about our music department. And I was like, I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to do so much in the Two Hill. I remember as a high school student, they had this like clarinet seminar, which was my main instrument.
Okay.
And they would invite high school students, and they would have like all these different clarinets you could practice and see all these like really expensive, out of my range clarinets, and then people performing them. And I was just like in love with it. And I loved doing that in the Two Hill. I was like, the Two Hill's beautiful. I get to perform here if I go to school here. And so I just got so excited. I was like, I have to go to school here. So once I got my associates, I was like, to UMSL I go.
There you
And
go.
sure enough, I did.
That's great. Are you young enough to remember Pete Fountain and Benny Goodman?
No, I am definitely young enough. Yeah, I don't know who they are.
Okay, they're incredibly accomplished clarinet players from back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. A long time ago, but when I was young, I played the saxophone growing up, and I remember watching them on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and different concerts. So they were one of, you didn't see a lot of clarinet, in the national, big band type of thing, but they kind of broke the mold. So Google or rather YouTube Benny Goodman and Pete Fountain when you get a chance.
I will have to.
Incredible. Sorry, I just showed my age a little bit, I guess. So you finish your degree from UMSL about when?
So I graduated December of 2019, so
Okay.
right before COVID hit.
Yes.
So, and in the middle of the school year, we have a lot of graduates in the education department. They're about to graduate in December. They're going to face the same kind of struggle I did, which is you graduated in the middle of the school year. There's not a lot of job opportunities in the middle of the school year.
Right.
Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of substitute teaching. So I was substitute teaching at Fort Zumwalt, St. Charles, Francis Howell, Webster Groves. And then I was also working as a librarian. And I remember, January to March, I was all good. I was working every day, taking any assignment I could, just to get my foot in the door. And I remember the day that they told us that the school was closing and the subs were not coming back. I got a call that morning that I was number 1 on the list to become a sergeant. And then I got a call from the school saying, hey, tomorrow's your last day.
Oh, my.
Because we're closing for this COVID thing. I was like, okay, cool. When am I coming back? And they're like, we're not sure. So COVID happened. I spent a month with my family stuck in my house, and I was losing my mind. I was like, I love you guys so much, but we are too alike in manner that I don't think we can do this. And so one of my sergeants called me and was like, hey, I have this mission. It's kind of weird. Do you want to do it? And I was like, tell me what it is, and then I'll decide, because you made it sound weirder than it really was. And he's like, well, COVID's really affecting people, and it's affecting hospital and morgues. So they had to make a makeshift morgue in Bridgeton, and they're like, we need soldiers with chemical backgrounds to bring the bodies in. And I'm like, that sounds cool.
Wow.
I'll do it. Yeah, anything to get out of the house. And he's like, yeah, you'll live in a hotel. Your food will be paid for. You don't need to drive. We have a car for you. All you got to do is get in the car. You'll have a driver and go to work. I was like, oh, I can do that.
Wow.
And so I did that from April of 2020 until about, I want to say it was May. Our coolers broke, so we had to leave, and everyone kind of got the mission scrubbed. But it was a really good mission. We helped a lot of people. We talked to a lot of families. We worked alongside the hospitals. We worked alongside the St. Louis Police Department. It was a very sad and also very rewarding job to do. And then we kind of flipped the entire script, and they put us on a new mission we called Mission Lunchbox. And you went into a school in downtown St. Louis, and for all those kids that were on free and reduced lunch, we would make all the lunches for all those kids in the St. Louis area, and we'd put them in coolers and put them on buses, and we'd send soldiers
Send them out
out
to
there.
their home. Wow.
Yeah, and we would go into their neighborhoods and pass out lunches for all the kids in the neighborhood.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
that was harder work than the morgue detail. My back was hurting every darn day. I think from leaning over those lunches. And so after that, I was like, I'm going to go teach. It's finally my time. School's about to come back. I'm going to go teach. So I did. I went to St. Alban Rowe Catholic School, and I taught pre-K to 8th grade music. I had 11 classes, and I saw them twice a week. I was a busy girl, and none of those kids were allowed to come to my classroom. And so I got a wagon. I put all my stuff in my wagon. I'd go upstairs and teach all of them, and I'd drag everything back down.
Wow.
And I tried to give them the most normal music experience I could in a time where nothing was normal.
Yeah. And when was this?
This was 2021,
Okay.
I want to say.
So we're still
2020,
kind of
2021.
in the pandemic, but
Yeah, still everyone's wearing masks everywhere we go, 6 feet apart, trying to figure out how to teach small children who love to touch each other not to touch each other.
Right.
Hugs, nothing of that.
especially the teacher probably. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The amount of times I had to go, sweetie, I can't give you a hug today was astronomical.
Oh.
That was probably the hardest part. But eventually the National Guard called me back and was like, hey, I have another mission for you. And I said, sayonara, I got to go do my thing. I left them after about completing 3/4, so they only had the little left. So they got a sub for me for the rest of it, and then I went and did my thing. So moved to Jeff City for a little bit so I could work in the health department, and I was cataloging every doctor in the entire state who handed out a COVID vaccine. And that was my job to gather all that data and put it all together.
Cataloging the doctors, not
the doctors
people that get the
and
shot,
the
the ones
actual
that are giving the shots.
So the actual shot numbers, how many shots they
okay.
were giving, how many vaccines they were giving, and it was interesting work to work at the state headquarters for all of that. But eventually I got kind of bored of it, and there was an opening at state headquarters for the state tuition assistance manager.
Okay.
And that was the best job I could feel like that I could do, because it was that love for the Army, love for education combined. So it was this perfect job for me. And so I took it, and I learned how to do so much up there. I stayed there for almost 3 years, but we had a little difference in how education goes. When you're a sergeant, it seems so wonderful when you're in the line units. That's what we call our little units that drill Saturday and Sunday. But when you're up at headquarters, when the governor drops by for a random day, or the general's coming down the stairs and bumps into you, it's a little bit different. And so you do get a lot of higher-ups who have all these wonderful ideas. But they don't have a degree in education. They have no idea how education works sometimes. So with my difference of opinion, I was like, I'm going to go find something else to do. And that's how I kind of stumbled upon the job here at UMSL, because I felt like I could do more with my background in education and my experience in the Guard, and then use all of that to make the Veterans Center the best Veterans Center we can possibly have in the state. It kind of helps that I've seen all the other ones, so I'm like, okay, my goal is to be here.
So this happened right after you were in Jeff City, that you went from Jeff City as the tuition assistance manager, and then when did you officially start at UMSL as the director of the Veterans Center?
So it hasn't
Manager
even been
of the Veterans Center, sorry.
No, not a problem. So it hasn't even been a year yet.
Okay.
I started the week of Veterans Day, so it was November 6th. And I just remember going, oh my goodness, we have one of the biggest days of the year for veterans. I got nothing planned. I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I just kind of ran with it. I was like, next year it's going to be great. So now I have to make it great.
Oh, yeah, because that's coming up in a month.
It is coming up.
A month and a half.
Yeah, so we have a lot planned for the Vet Center. Lots of events, lots of coordination with other groups. We just kind of want to make sure that our vets are getting events for them and inviting other people to kind of engage with them. No hiding from everyone else.
That's good.
Even
That's
though we
good.
are kind of in a little corner. Can't hide.
So what was attractive to you about the job as the manager of the UMSL Veterans Center? Why did you make that transition? What brought you to UMSL? What was passionate in you to want to become the manager of the Veterans Center?
Yeah, so I'm really passionate about education. I think that education should be available for everyone. To seek knowledge is such an immense opportunity that I feel like we should give our younger folk. And having gone to school here, I remember going to the vet center, and I remember going, "This isn't for me." And I went in once, I never came back. And I thought about that. I was like, how many times have I gone to a place where they were doing it not as well as I think I could do it, and then gone and fixed it? And I was like, UMSL has this opportunity where I can go and give them what I didn't have. To give them the support and the knowledge that I don't feel like I received as a student, and be that for them. So if it meant letting students know that I'm going to hold their hand through everything, that I'll be by their side when they don't know what's going on, I want to be that for them. And we do. We have about 550 military connected students on campus this
Wow.
semester. We have
Say that again, 550? Wow.
that is from all the reports I pulled and putting them all together. That is what I have gathered.
Connected meaning either they served or they have family members that served?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and we do have, quite a diverse group of veterans. We have older veterans. We have younger veterans. We have veterans who want to talk about it all the time. We have veterans who never want to talk about the service again. And we try to cater to all of them. And it's to make sure that they get the best experience here at UMSL that they can possibly get.
So someone that's in the military and at UMSL, what services does the Veterans Center provide them as students?
So main one across the board is certification of benefits. You have a benefit, you want to use the benefit, we educate you on it, we walk you through the steps on how to get certified, and we make sure that we communicate with whichever agency we need to communicate with, so that way they pay for their schooling. So if that's the VA, if that's the federal tuition assistance, ESSs, if it's the state department here in Jeff City, or even if it's just the Department of Higher Education. So we kind of do a lot of back-end work to make sure that their school gets covered. We have a wonderful team with just like my student workers. I have about 12 of them that help me do the day-to-day to help everyone. We have our school certifying official, Ann Kaufman. We have Matt McCleskey, who works in the cashier's office. So he helps immensely. And then I have basically my boss and my mentor, Robin Kimberlin. She makes sure that I am getting all the assistance I need to do my job and to do things even better than the way that I can think of them. So I have like these really big ideas, and I love to shoot for the moon. I land on the stars, and Robin helps me land on the star safely.
So you're the visionary, and your team are the practical application people that get them all to happen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I understand that. I'm very much the same way. So of the 500 plus connected military that we have here at UMSL, how many would you say are actively involved and that you actually service through the Veterans Center?
So last I calculated, we had, at least for fall semester alone, 321 certifications that was submitted to us. So there's probably a lot of duplicates in there, but that's still work that has to be done. So somewhere in that realm of 300 that are using benefits.
So on a typical day for a student that is part of that certification group, what would their life be like, and how would it be different as a veteran going to UMSL than the average student just coming to UMSL?
I think there's a little bit of a almost kind of like this sense of calm. As long as they do everything correctly, they know that we have their back. And while we wish we could do that for every student, we know how the benefits work. A lot of the benefits do cover 100% of their tuition just because they served for so long. And so we give them that ability to just worry about school. And I tell that to my student workers all the time. Your first priority is not my office. It is your schoolwork. I want you to succeed. I want you to pass your classes. And that's what we really want for our veterans and our dependents that go here, is to make sure that we do our job as correctly as possible, so that bill isn't what's looming over you. It's that paper you have to write or the discussion board you forgot to answer on a Wednesday. So we want to take that worry away from them.
Do all of the veterans at UMSL that are part of the Veterans Center get some kind of VA benefits to help with tuition and things like that? How does that work?
So everything really depends on their service. When did you serve? How long did you serve? Were you active duty, reserve, or National Guard? Did you go on a deployment? Was that deployment in a combat zone? If you are a dependent, what happened with your sponsors' time in service? Did they transfer benefits to you? Did you earn a benefit? So everyone's kind of very individualized. So we ask every single one of them questions on, like, if you were the service member, if you're not the service member, and then a little bit more information about how they served. And that kind of determines what benefits we can work with them for.
When I've been over to the Veterans Center in Clark Hall, right? It always seems like it was a very busy place. There were always people hanging around, having lunch, playing video games, studying, of course.
Yes.
It's not just a party, but they're actually here to get an education. It seemed like it was very active, that there were a lot of people involved. You kind of build that community sense through the Veterans Center, and how does that work, and how does that feed off of into the veterans that go to school here at UMSL?
Yeah, so it is a very busy time, especially fall, spring semester. We kind of have certain days. We have peak hours where it's super busy. When I left for this today, every seat was taken in the vet center. Everyone was talking, they were studying, they have classes together. We have a wonderful teacher, Michael Fager, who teaches math here. And so he's also an ex-Marine. And so some of our students will go to him and ask for math help for their courses. And so it's just kind of a wide range of what's going to happen in the vet center today. Are they studying for something big? Are they playing chess? Are they getting the Switch out and playing Mario Kart? Is it me knocking on the door going, hey guys, I'm on a Zoom meeting. Can you quiet it down? They are loud, a bunch, but they're kind. And I do appreciate all the veterans and their dependents who come in. They're so sweet to each other and so helpful for one another. It's really hard not to sometimes jump into conversations with them. I have to remind myself, like, okay, I got this really big project. I got to go back to my office. But I can hear everything basically from the back of my wall because it's not very thick. So it is kind of nice to hear all the conversations that they have.
That's great. You mentioned you're already putting plans together for Veterans Day coming up in November. What are your long-term plans? What do you see as your vision for the Veterans Center a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road?
So I thought of 3 things because I have had the opportunity to move around quite often. In the last couple years since COVID, it's given me a lot of different jobs. And so what I've learned from that is, sometimes opportunity will come when you least expect it. But there are 3 things that I want to be able to accomplish before I ever even look at another opportunity, primarily here at UMSL. I think I want to stay in education and higher ed for as long as humanly possible. So until I want to retire, that is the goal.
Good.
But I want to increase the percentage of student veterans. I want to bring more students to UMSL because while other schools do it very well, I know what I can do for them. I know it's like, when you have you're a parent, you know what you're going to do for your children. And it's like, okay, these are my kids. It's like when I was teaching, I know that I can give them the best opportunities I can because I've seen it everywhere else. So I want to be their advocate, and I know I will try my best for them. So I want to grab as many as I can so that way I know that they're being taken care of. So that's the first goal. Increase. I would love to see at 20% increase.
Wow.
So that will take quite a bit of time. I also would love to work on getting a bigger space for them. Sometimes I have students sitting on the floor because there's so many of them that are just like, I want to hang out with my buddies. So sometimes you see them around the TV and you got one or two on the floor that want to play next. So I'd love to get maybe a few more, like a little bit of a bigger space or accommodate them a little bit better. So that's kind of a goal of mine as well.
Sure.
And then also to make sure that with the increase of students, kind of means that we need an increase of the staff who helps. If I get overwhelmed, I will eventually get burnt out. So eventually, if we do get that 20% increase of students, hopefully also getting that full-time staff, school certifying officials who will be able to assist with all those increase of students. So it all kind of ties in together. Increased student veterans means you need more space for veterans, which means you need more staff for veterans.
Yeah.
So I really have to just work on goal number one, and I think everything else will fall into place.
I think so. So with those goals, you've pretty much locked yourself into being the manager of the Veterans Center for the next 25 years.
Maybe not 25. I work really quickly if I want to put my mind to it.
Well, what does the future hold for Martina Meng? What do you see yourself doing 10, 15, 20 years down the road?
Well, just in the next couple of years, I really want to get my doctorate. So education does not stop for me. I'd be the first one in my family to get my doctorate. I was the first one in my family to get my bachelor's and my master's. Wow. My family comes from Nicaragua, so my grandparents they immigrated here from Nicaragua first. Then my mom came here 1993. It was when she first set foot in America. And so they've worked really hard, and they've made education such a priority. It would be a shame to stop. So definitely the goal is get my doctorate, be Dr. Meng. But I did have an advisor call me Dr. Sargent one time, and I want that on a plaque. Dr. Sargent.
Dr.
So
Sargent, I like that.
Can't become an officer because it has to say Dr. Sargent. But that's definitely a goal of mine. I have a loving boyfriend, so hopefully boyfriend eventually changes to husband.
Let's go, buddy. Man up. Come on, let's go.
Yep. We're celebrating our 3-year anniversary here this month, so if he's listening, I have not bought your present yet, so I will figure something out for that.
Sure.
But his birthday is also this weekend, so we're doing that first.
Okay.
He gets 2 presents in the month. It's almost unfair.
Yeah, that's not fair at all.
No. And then kind of just relax and let the Veterans Center keep working to make that better. Maybe just more time with my family. One thing I didn't get a lot of when I was state tuition assistance manager was more time with my family. I have a younger sister who's an alumni from UMSL. I have a brother, her husband is a current student here at UMSL for the cybersecurity program, and they have 2 cute as can be kids. My nephew is 2, my niece is 8 months, and they are just the cutest little things. And I just want to spend as much time with them as possible.
Well, it sounds like that might be in your future too someday, and that you'd be a great mom, right?
I would hope so, but if my students used to call it the sergeant voice. I can't promise that I don't use the sergeant voice.
That's part of being a great mom. Trust me. Trust me. That goes hand in hand. Well, one final question, then I'll let you go. For someone listening that either is a veteran or maybe knows a veteran that wants to go to college, what would you say, or what does that person need to do to learn more about what we do for veterans here at UMSL, about the Veterans Center, and get in touch with you or someone there that can help them find a place here at UMSL?
Well, ask the questions. I don't know how many times I had somebody come to me and go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Oh, I didn't know that was a benefit for me. They ask their buddies, and sometimes their buddies won't know the answer and they'll kind of give up. Don't give up if your buddy doesn't know, or your sergeant doesn't know, or you think that you have no benefits left. We have actually grabbed a couple students. So I'm still in the National Guard. My team lead's still in the National Guard. And so we open up our doors to help any student who is a veteran. So sometimes they come in and they're going to another university or community college, and I'm like, just sit down, we'll walk you through everything. Some of our veteran students that have started this semester actually just loved how kind we were and was like, I don't want to do my application for that school anymore. I want to apply to be an UMSL student, and I'll do it all once I'm accepted here. And so if you have a buddy or anyone in your family that is thinking about school, even if they might not be thinking about UMSL, talk to us. The goal is to help as many veterans and their dependents as possible. If you choose UMSL, I mean, you get a pretty star team to help you. So that would be the biggest advice is come to UMSL because you got people in your corner.
Yeah, and a real family community feel at the Veterans Center. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, Martina Meng, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for your service. Thank you for your work to support the veterans here with the UMSL Veterans Center. And thank you for being on Triton Talk.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's super fun.
I am honored that you chose to join me today for the University of Missouri St. Louis College of Education podcast. I hope you'll join me next time. Till then, I'm David Stouffer. Thank you for the work you do. Never forget, you are making a difference every day.